Now, many of you already know that a stock market is a place where investors connect to buy shares or publicly listed shares in the stock exchange. You will know that right now, even here in South Africa, you've got not only an opportunity to buy the publicly listed shares in trading at the JSE, but you've got also an opportunity to invest into companies listed in the New York Stock Exchange, companies listed all over the world, and this is at the tips of your hand. It is up to you when it comes to deciding where do you want to invest in the market. It is very important though that when you invest, you try to be as diverse as possible, and diversity not only does it mean choosing industries, but you must also invest into multiple economies, meaning that you must invest both here and outside of South Africa, so that should anything happens bad in the markets here in SA, you can also get to hedge against that by obviously securing or with your investments or companies that you own outside of South Africa. Now, the biggest question that is on investors' minds, especially the beginners, right, is that when do I buy a share? Okay, fine. I find that I want to buy Coca-Cola shares. I find that I want to buy ShopRite shares. I want to buy Pick and Pay shares. I want to buy Purple Group shares. For instance, when is the right time to buy? Well, if you are a long-term investor, the rule is that if you are investing for the long term, regardless of where the share price is at of either that company, of that index, if you're investing for the long term, you will reap the benefit. What if I tell you there's a place where you can go in the markets right now and analyze that stock, and once you see certain things, once you see what I'm about to tell you happening, that might be a golden opportunity for you to go in and reap the good rewards. I'm telling you about something that I've experienced personally. I'm telling you about the things that I've personally done, and it has generated me some good money, right? But before, of course, we dig deep, or before I give you this major, massive tip on when do you actually buy the shares of a company, please like this video, please subscribe, please hit that notification bell. YouTube has been telling me that some of you guys are just watching and have not subscribed to the channel. Let's grow the community. I'll continue giving you the latest developments. I'll continue giving you the content, whether being it about investing, about the SA affairs that relate to the economy of our country. So this one is for investing, because part of what I cover on this channel, those of you that have been here for some time, you'll know that I also cover about investing. And today I just want to discuss when do you buy a stock. Now, without wasting any more of your time, let's go back to the video. Now, I'm quite certain that you have seen a lot of people, or if at least you have been I'm quite certain that if you've been in the stock market or investing in the stock market for at least a year, and you are maybe on the streets of social media, maybe on some of the big pages that are talking about investment, I'm quite sure that you have seen that the time that people are buying an ETF or a individual stock, it is when everyone else is buying, when everyone else is talking about that stock, that company. But honestly, history has proven what I'm telling you. Most of the time that you see, of course, people talking a lot about a certain stock, its share price rising, or a certain ETF that has been rising. Most people, when you see most people covering that share, talking about that stock, talking about that ETF, you are probably too late. That is the first sign. Chances are very high that you are probably too late to jump in and buy that share. And of course, I'm saying generally you are too late. Yes, you might be lucky, the stock, the ETF still continues maybe rallying or rising 10-20% after you have jumped in. But most of the time, if you go and check, go ask those that have been investing for quite some time. The first sign that tells me if a stock is a good buy, I've done an evaluation. The first thing that tells me if a stock is overbought or oversold It's the noise that you hear from the streets of social media. Most of the time, if you were investing, those of you that have been investing in the stock market, you will notice that during the pandemic 2020, most of the stocks crashed. In fact, all stocks globally crashed like crazy. But what happened in 2021? In fact, towards the end of 2020, going to 2021, stocks went and hit all-time highs. Many stocks went and hit all-time highs, especially growth stocks. That is, stocks that are in industries which are expected to do very well. We saw a very, very, very massive rally in stocks. Even if you are to go and check on my social media pages, some of my social media pages, I think like Facebook, during 2021, I was posting screenshots like crazy because what I was seeing on my portfolio, it was nothing I've never seen before. But what happened? You remember that noise that came end of 2020, beginning of 2021, when stocks were hitting all-time highs. I remember some of the stocks that I own were going up or were up 600%, 400%, and it was noise all over the streets of social media. But what happened after then is that there was a major correction. It all ended in tears, especially for those that did not trim their holdings. I was one of them because I was just so greedy with the 600%, 400% that I had, and I never even thought of trimming some of my holdings. I never really had an exit strategy when I invest, which is a topic that probably we'll talk about some other day. And that is, you need to always have an exit strategy. What happens when you buy a stock today? After 2 months, that stock maybe gives you 300%. The kind of returns that you were expecting to get from that stock probably in 5 years, it comes in 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. What happens? We need to talk about that. That is the exit strategy that I'm telling you, or that I'm talking about. There is something that I learned throughout that period of 2020 and of up to where I'm at right now, right? And I think we all need an exit strategy. Yes, we invest for the long term, but there are certain stocks, there are certain, of course, assets that when you buy, when you accumulate, you see massive gain in a short space of time. Can I tell you something? The stock that, of course, one of the stocks that gave me 600% that I did not even sell a single share, I still own to this day. It dropped by like what, 80% from that high, which got me from that all-time high. And boy, do I not regret at least trimming. I should have trimmed something, but anyways, it's a lesson learned. Now, during that period where stocks were hitting all-time highs and all that, if there's one thing that I noticed, I saw, is that a lot of people were talking about buying certain companies, so many companies, because they were on a rally. They were talking about those companies, but those companies, very same companies, when the pandemic started and they hit 52-week lows, no one was talking about them. And that was the best time to buy that stocks. So the best time to buy a stock, after you have done an evaluation, you pick up that this company is either going to profitability or it's profitable. That is your earnings per share, right? After you realize that the revenues of these companies are expected to grow or will grow based on their maybe competitive advantage, something that you read about that company, but the share price is not yet responding to this kind of news. The stock price is still trading at close to a 52-week low. That is the best time to buy that company, that share. Locally, for instance, I remember there's a company called Purple Group. Purple Group is the company that owns your Easy Equities and all that. That company, sometime last year, they went from being a profitable company to not being profitable anymore, right? But those people that were closely monitoring, the moment Purple Group started announcing something called Thrive, right? Where those people that don't thrive, they will have to pay a fee. I think it's 25 rands per month, right? The moment that was announced, I remember I was having a chat with someone. I was like, it is not going to take very long until Purple Group heads back to profitability, because anyways 80% of Purple Group's revenue, or majority, let me just say majority of Purple Group's revenue comes from the money that they're generating from easy equities, right? And with that Thrive initiative that makes, or that sort of like forces, or that sort of like makes you as an investor using their platform to invest or pay 25 rands, it ends up making retail investors to be a bit proactive, right? To be so active in the platform that is depositing more money because they don't want to pay the Thrive fee. And those that are not depositing, either way, Purple Group still benefits by getting or collecting the 25 rands per month, which that one, I can tell you that it's one of the initiatives that made them to really see a turnaround. Now, Purple Group, there was a point in time after they announced that, after we saw an announcement, after we saw that they were not profitable, after those earnings where we saw that they are not profitable, where they went to 50 cents per share, right? But because now, by the way, a year later, they are now profitable, share price of Purple Group, it's exploding like crazy. I think the last time I checked it 2 days ago, it was almost at 2 rands 50 cents, right? Now, when Purple Group went from being profitable to not being profitable last year, a lot of people became quiet. Those that were talking about Purple Group, there was all of a sudden not so many people talking about Purple Group, but the smart money, or the investors that have been in the game for quite some time, knew that that was the time to accumulate, right? And right now, look at where Purple Group share price is. So I'm giving you this Purple Group story because the time to actually accumulate onto a stock, it is when the share price of a stock goes to a 52-week low. This is a strategy that I've seen even smart money, they do. Smart money is of course big financial institutions. You need to also check what they say about companies, but you need to be careful when you check what they say about companies. Sometimes some of these institutions, they say to short the stock or to bring down the share price of the stock so that they can buy it at a cheaper price. But my dear friends, take it when I say this, and this is not professional financial advice, by the way, right? These are just my opinions. This is what I've just seen on the market, what happens with the markets, right? I mean, we need to learn at the end of the day from experience, right? And me, the experience has showed me that the time where you need to seriously accumulate, it is when the market is red, when there is a market crash. Market crash is when you need to be investing in the stock markets. I will say it again. During a market crash is when you need to be heavy investing in the markets, because the markets have stood the test of time. Markets have been like existing, I don't know, but even probably our grandfathers were born, and therefore these trends that we see on the markets, they've been playing out for quite some times. And can I tell you something? Markets crash, but markets always recovers. So the best time, even on a company, markets crash, when certain companies or certain industries are affected and market is crashing, that is the best time to accumulate. I'll just end this video by just giving you a hint of some of the stocks that maybe you might need to look at. You will notice that right now the US has been imposing tariffs, or has imposed tariffs to South Africa and other countries. And right now, some of the courier services stocks like FedEx and whatnot, honestly, they've been struggling because investors have been panicking if these companies will continue doing very well, because these are the companies that, of course, help us ship, or that ship American Express. They ship couriers, or they take, of course, gifts and whatnot, transporting products all over the world. And with these tariffs, there is a lot of restrictions that is on those shipments that these companies ship, right? And that lies in the opportunity, because tariffs, they don't last for a long time. Tariffs, this tariff story that we are seeing or that we are reading about in the US, it's just going to be a short-term headwind. But when things go back to normal, those companies, in terms of the share price, because their share price are struggling or are trembling like crazy right now because of that, or because of that sentiment, it might be the good time right now to go and have a look at some of those stocks. But anyways, I don't want to make this video too long. All I was trying to give you on this one is that the best time to buy a company, it is either on a market crash, or it's either itself, the share price, it is being beaten down. You don't buy a company when the share price is rising. You actually buy a stock when the company is going down. But again, I will say it, a general rule is that if you're a long-term investor, you don't have to worry when you are buying a stock. But I must tell you, retail investors like you and me, we all know that we cannot invest like banks who have been existing for the past like centuries and all that. We need to obviously think about our lifetime, and therefore I don't think we can invest for 100 years or for 50 years. Our long term, that the long term that institutions use or have, it's very much different from the long term that we as individuals would have. As individuals, long term, it's anything from 5 to 10 years. So with that in mind, we need to also be strategic when to invest, and our exit strategy, when do we sell and all that. But I think in the next coming few days we'll discuss more about that. But anyways, let me end this video here. Don't want to make it too long. Tell me what you think about this. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because it takes me some time to make content like this, and I appreciate all of you that have been subscribing, hitting that notification bell, and liking the videos together with sharing. I'll see you on the next one. That is all from me, and God bless you all.